Hit the intro.
Hit it!
Welcome to the first episode of the Bottom Gear Podcast. I am your host, James, and I am not really a car guy.
And I'm the host, Tom, and I am kind of a car guy,
Are you?
I guess. Not an expert by any means, but I do enjoy my cars.
Fair enough. Well, welcome to the first episode of the Bottom Gear Podcast. Like I said, this is your new favorite car podcast where we talk about senseless car talk, we talk about educated car talk, we talk about racing, we talk about building cars, we talk about whatever we want, really, because you know why? It's our podcast.
That's right. So it's our podcast, it's our opinions. If you have your own opinions and you'd like to share them, feel free in the comments on our Instagram, on our TikTok. Feel free to reach out. But this is by no means an invitation to start fights on our socials.
Tom, what were the ats for those? The TikTok and the Instagram?
That would be at Bottom Gear Pod for both Instagram and TikTok.
Look at this guy. He's a professional already. So, Tom, welcome to the first episode. This is exciting, dude. I'm excited. Are you?
Oh, dude, I've been hyped for weeks.
I know. So if you've been following along on our Instagram and our TikTok and things like that, you've slowly seen us building and promoting this podcast for about a week now, and we're finally recording the first episode, and I'm excited, dude. It's cool to finally get it off the ground. We have all the equipment here. We have, our topics and things we want to talk about. It's super cool to see it at this point now.
Yeah, it's great to be here sitting down with the mics, just ready to go. After all this time, playing Farm Sim, that was the start. That kind of sparked these ideas, but Here we are now.
So basically, there came a point where Tom and I were getting to know each other a lot more and hanging out a lot more. And we did that through playing Farming Simulator 22 specifically, not any other older version,
Correct.
but specifically 22. And if you're not familiar with Farming Simulator, it is quite literally what it sounds like. It is a totally immersive farming video game where you just do anything a farmer would.
Exactly. Very tedious, might I add.
Yeah.
But it's all part of the process.
That's true. And there were nights where we were up till 4 a.m. and we would just sit there and be like, man, a podcast would be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
and
as we're, harvesting our wheat to make some bread, we're like, wouldn't it be cool if we just got on the air and started talking about things that we like?
True. And then
we have very different perspectives.
That's true. And the one thing we landed on was cars. Car
That's right.
talk.
That's
so, and here we are on the Bottom Gear Podcast. Welcome to the first episode here. So, Tom, you always describe yourself as like not really a car guy, but you kind of are, but you're not like a, super car guy. So, if you don't mind, like just because this is kind of the introductory podcast, the first episode for all of our listeners, who are you? What do you like about cars? Why do you call yourself a car guy? Kind of like, what's your story with your interest and your love for cars?
Well, I guess it all kind of started when I was really young. My uncle was big into NASCAR, so whenever I was at his house, I'd see NASCAR on the TV. He had all these die-cast models built to scale of different cars like Richard Petty's Superbird, the number 43. Any Cars fans out there, Dynaco King. So that really sparked my interest. And then, as I just said, the Cars movie came out. So that just kept the ball rolling.
Really? So Cars was a big part of it for you?
Cars, I wouldn't say it was a huge part, but it definitely played a role.
It made it fun.
In my interest. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Cars is a great movie. Definitely one of the greatest animated movies of our childhood.
Oh, yes. Cinematic masterpiece.
That is a masterpiece really for sure.
Is.
Anyway.
Not Cars 2, though.
No, ass.
Indeed. But aside from that, I got Hess trucks every year for Christmas. That was
same.
Like the tradition in my family was, you get the boys the Hess trucks.
Yeah.
So I was constantly seeing Hess trucks, playing with Hess trucks. And then it just kind of built up from there. As I got older, I started playing video games, and here we go. We got Forza Horizon, we got Assetto Corsa, we got all the simulators. And right now I'm really big into sim racing. It's the closest thing I can get right now to an actual race car, especially, money-wise.
That's fair, yeah. Cars are
expensive.
expensive.
Aside from that, I wouldn't really say I'm a car expert, but I do enjoy working on my car. I like the feeling of being in the car. It's the one place where I have total control of what I'm doing. Sure. If I'm driving somewhere, I choose where I'm going, how I'm getting there. And that's just that freedom that I love about cars.
Absolutely.
They kind of open up this new world for you to explore.
Mm.
So, how about yourself, James? Like, do you have any interesting cars? Like, what brought you to the podcast?
Yeah, so like I talked about in the very intro of this, like I'm not a car guy, right? Like I am very much the other end of the spectrum from you. So I actually grew up kind of in a similar situation where like everyone around me was like kind of interested in cars or, racing and things like that. My dad actually was a big reason of why I even have an interest in cars, whatever it may be. And he would always be watching, like, you remember the Velocity channel?
Oh, dude, I sure do. Now it's Motor Trend,
Yeah,
but that
Velocity
was
was
great.
better. I
I
think I
agree.
think the name of it was better, but it was a Velocity, and I always remember every Saturday there was always a Barrett Jackson auction on, and then there was the Meekum auctions
Yes,
on,
of course.
and then he would watch all the different shows. Like there was like Two Girls Garage or something like that. There
All
was
Girls Garage.
All Girls
Yeah.
Garage. Yeah, 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 yeah.
You got Fast and Loud,
Yeah, all of those.
Bitchin' Rides.
Yeah, all of these
Such great shows, man.
fantastic shows, right? That are just like, even if you're not a car person, they're just addicting to watch.
Definitely.
And that's kind
Definitely.
of what started to spark it too. And I always remember like saying to him like, no, I don't have any interest in cars. Like I don't want to talk about this, Dad. And then I realized that, oh man, he's kind of right. Like these
You
are
were bit by the bug.
yeah, these are kind of sick, right? And then it wasn't really until like last year, so 2022, that I got more and more into cars through like YouTube videos and things like
Sure.
that. I really enjoy watching Chris Fix, shout out, and
Great channel.
just because like he makes it so like normal person friendly. It's not car guy.
He does, and he explains it. He explains all these different concepts that might seem difficult to grasp in a very easy to understand way. And he
Yeah.
shows, here's how I'm doing it. Here's why I'm doing whatever I'm doing.
Mhm.
You know,
And he also does like his whole thing is like with common hand tools. Like he doesn't use like the super crazy power tools that mechanics use, and like
right?
everything is done with like
Hand wrenches, and
hand wrenches.
screwdrivers, and
It's awesome. So I started really enjoying him, and like that's kind of when I really started to get into a little bit more. And especially like on just a more real like sad note, like I guess too, but just to get it out there, like so my dad passed away in 2021,
right.
and I think since then I've also like gotten into a little bit more because it's kind of like that memory I have of him too.
Sure.
Um,
Definitely, yeah.
and we even talked about him and I like starting a car podcast way back in the day, like when I was really little.
Really?
Like, and having like a father son car podcast. So this is kind of a cool thing to just have this now, to be able to kind of live that dream a little bit more. Not like you're my son, but
Big Littles, fraternal
yeah,
brothers.
exactly. But yeah, and then I also this is a funny little side piece too. I also own a car wash too. Like I created my own car
Right.
washing business, so I was kind of just surrounded by cars for a summer. And I didn't own like it wasn't like a big like chain or anything like that, but it was like in my front yard. I would touch wash cars and detail cars, and I paid pretty good money off of it too. And I really enjoyed it
It
because
can be a lot of fun.
yeah, no, it's so fun. I mean,
Like you're outside, you're having a good time, you're around the things that you like. You see a nice car and you get to wash it. It's like that's a treat.
exactly, and you make it look so good too. And just to
Just that
see like
satisfaction.
just to see the look on the owner's face when they see their car just like beautiful, and
Exactly.
especially
Their eyes light up.
yeah, I always
Like
like
that's what it is.
I always like to do like red cars, like red paint, because the difference between dirty red and then like deep like ruby red when it's like clean, it's just so
It's night and
beautiful.
day.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of how I got into cars. I don't work on any cars currently. I've done some like little things like just from like watching Chris Fix videos and stuff of like how to like change an oil and things like that. Like
Great place to start, though, man.
exactly. And so, but I've always been more of like a car appreciator than a car guy, if that makes sense.
Appreciator rather than like enthusiast, being in the mix,
Yeah.
like car meets and
Yeah,
doing all the work on the cars.
it's
and
like
stuff. Okay.
I love going to a car show,
Sure.
like
Yeah.
walking through and just looking at cars and just listening to people's stories with them, because like that's like the one thing that I love about car people is that whatever their car is, no matter if it's a brand new 2023 car or if it's a 1963 car, right, whatever it
Yep.
is, there's always a story behind it.
And there's that passion that's backing that project. Like, I've grown away from the younger crowd at car meets, and I've started going to more car shows that are organized. And you got all these older guys and older ladies, and they've got these sweet muscle cars and like
Yeah.
station wagons from the 60s through the 80s, and man, they know what they're talking about, and they
Yeah.
really enjoy these cars because many times they're the cars from their childhood, you know?
True. And even not only just the cars from their childhood, but even cars that like when you look at them, you think, oh, they must have taken such good care of that and not driven it. But like they probably
Exactly.
were like dailies for them for a while too.
Right, and they've just kept them in such great
Good
condition.
shape, right? And I think you hit it right on the head of the having those conversations with people and just hearing those stories, right? It makes you kind of get it, right? When
Definitely,
you
yeah.
hear someone talk about something that they're passionate about, it makes you feel passionate about it.
You're immersed in their story at that
Yeah.
point. You become
Yeah.
part of that experience.
Exactly, which is like something that I'm even starting to get from you a little bit too. Is right because every time we hang out, there's always some kind of car talk, right?
Yeah,
And it's kind of
I guess so.
inevitable, just because like obviously we've had the podcast in the back of our mind for a while,
Sure.
and then also too just because they're fun to talk about. Cars are just fun.
You have
And-
so many different types,
I
and
know.
whether it's Japanese, European, like you got all these different options. Everybody's styling them differently, customizing them in ways
True.
that you might not even comprehend
Mhm.
until you see their unique build.
Yeah,
Everything is different.
yeah. I mean, you could literally have two of the exact same cars, like say the make, model, year, everything.
All identical.
Everything's the same, but your car is completely different than your car.
Yep.
And it's
And
wild.
the little things go a long way. Wheels, suspension, how the car sounds as it's
True.
driving by.
I know you're a big sound guy.
I am. I do enjoy a good exost on a car.
Now, speaking about your car, you talked about a little bit that you like working on your car.
That's right.
So what car do you drive right now? What's in the garage, Tom?
So right now, during the decent weather seasons, I drive a Subaru BRZ. It's on NK RPF1 wheels, motorsport-inspired wheels on Toyo Proxys tires. Very sticky tires, performance centered. And I've got a Tomei Extreme TI exhaust, all titanium, catback, single exit. So it's a bit rowdy sometimes, but
Yeah,
we like a little bit of rowdy
you
on
got
the cars.
to, right? I mean, here watching the videos and stuff of your exhaust is just ridiculous, dude.
Especially with the Boxer engines, man. They just have this deep rumble to them,
Yeah,
which is kind of hard to pick up on video, but you know when it's a Subaru driving by
right.
if it's got some exhaust mods done to it.
Now, it's funny you talk about those Boxer engines. You sent me a photo of them earlier because you were talking about the Subaru Legacy with me.
That's right.
And it was a Boxer engine. What the hell is a Boxer engine? Because I didn't want to ask you earlier because I was so overwhelmed. Side note, I'm looking for a new car right now, and Tom's really trying to put a lot of influence on me on this car. So if we talk about that, that's kind of what we're talking about. But what is a Boxer engine? What is that?
So when you think of an engine, you know what pistons are and how they might work.
Yeah.
Or how in your mind do you picture them facing? Which direction? Up, sideways, down?
I think of like they're on like an angle.
Okay, so like a V-oriented engine.
Yeah, like because
Okay,
they're like
right.
they spin like or like they're
And
like
you've got one on each,
Yeah.
pumping in each direction.
right.
Like diagonally. Okay. Well, with a Boxer, it's horizontally opposed. So they're going left and right.
Oh. So
Yeah,
like
that's
directly.
why it's the Boxer. It's like punching. That's why it's the Boxer, yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. And like, what is the reason for that? Like, what is the difference make and the engine?
You know, it can be any number of things, but the one aspect that I keep coming back to in just reading about them is that the center of gravity is a lot lower. When you have a shorter engine that's wider, your weight is going to be closer to the ground, which makes the car that much easier to drive. Especially with the BRZ having such a low center of gravity makes it handle like a dream. It's like driving a Porsche in the $20,000 range instead of 60s plus. You know, you can't really beat it. So yeah, center of gravity is really the main thing. It could also be, you know, just general function of the engine that
Sure.
Subaru thought might make it better.
Yeah.
They have their issues, sure, but
I mean,
so does
every
any
car
engine.
has every car has issues.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's no such thing as a perfect engine.
RB26.
What's that?
I don't know. I'm just a bit biased. I like my Nissan Skyline
Oh,
engines.
Okay. Yeah. We'll get into that. A little bit later. But yeah, okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, so it's like, there's always like it's like a lot of this podcast is going to be me asking Tom questions because of there's a lot of shit that I just don't know. I just don't understand. And it's like the little things like that. Like, what is a boxer engine? Well, that's just slang because they go out to the side and it looks like it's like boxing, like, you know, punching.
Right. And like I said, by no means am I an expert, but I have these little bits of knowledge that I can share.
Sure.
But
I mean, you're an expert compared to me. You know what I mean? Like,
I guess.
But there's definitely some guys out there, and we know who you are.
Who know the freaking brochure back in front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like before they go to bed every night, they read their car manual.
That's right.
You know, they can take an engine apart 7 different ways and put it back together 9 different ways.
Yeah, they know exactly how many drops of oil are left in
Right.
the car.
I know I have 4,374, 73.
Yeah, and they're counting down as they drive down
Yeah, as
the road.
they're driving.
Right.
Yeah. So you drive a BRZ,
That's
right?
right.
You also have another car that you drive in the not
I do.
fair
This
months.
is my, I guess, daily driver would be the Honda Civic hatchback 22. Fun little car. We got the sport
is fun.
trim. It's a quiet ride, I will say that.
Well,
a little too
I
quiet
mean,
for my liking,
of
but
course
for a daily driver, you know, I can't really complain. It gets me from point A to point B. The paddle shifters are fun, even though it's a CVT. I know you CVT haters are going to be, you know, talking it up in the comments, but you know what? It's a fun car for what it is, and I do have a lot of fun driving it. It's very enjoyable.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I actually, literally today, found out what a CVT meant.
Continuously variable transmission.
Yeah, so it like, explain it, because I was
so I don't know how the best way to explain it is, other than there aren't separate gears. It's one continuous gear that through the computer is chopped up into smaller segments.
Sure.
So it's a way of just power delivery for specific types of automatic transmissions.
So would I don't know if this is going to be the proper wording, but I think you'll know what I mean. Is it less mechanical and more technical?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah, because with a manual transmission, you've got separate gears for each throw of the shifter.
True.
With this, it's kind of sloppy. It's called the slosh box because it's a bit, you know.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's a bit messy. And they're just notorious for having issues, especially after 100,000 miles ish.
Sure.
So that's why I want to see car manufacturers at least keep 1 or 2 cars with manual transmissions in their lineups. Not totally phase them out because they're a good option if you want to have a car, especially for the longevity aspect.
True, and it's like we were just talking about before the podcast too. It's like, because I'm looking for a new car, and I would prefer to have one that's a manual transmission because my first car was a manual. I had a 2006 Volkswagen Jetta, and it was a 5-speed, and I really enjoyed it. I like the feeling of driving a manual because
it's a lot of fun.
It is fun, and it's like that thing you talked about earlier. It's like you have that control. Right?
Exactly,
like
you've got that connection. You are deciding what the car does. The car isn't deciding what you're doing.
Exactly, and I also just want to get better at it too because it's been a couple years since I've driven.
And it's a fun skill.
Yeah,
you can take skills that you've learned from the road, and if you want to bring your car to the track, you chuck it around the track for a bit.
True,
and you know it's just as applicable.
Yeah. But it's crazy because you're talking about how a lot of companies just aren't making manuals anymore.
Right.
Like, when I was looking around the different dealerships around my hometown, there's just, like, only, like, 3 or 4 on the entire lot that are manuals. Like, is that, like, just a trend that car companies are switching to more automatic? Is it cheaper? Is it just because people just don't want to drive manuals anymore? Like, what do you think it is?
So, a big part of it is that the people who are buying the cars don't know how to drive manuals. So, they're marketing to the larger audience.
Yeah.
Because the slim amount of people who want manuals are car enthusiasts or people who learned on manual transmissions or the older generation. But you're going to start seeing a decline in the number of manuals. And a few years ago, you could go on whatever manufacturer's website and configure a vehicle. The automatic transmission on average would cost you about $2,400 more than the manual option. So it also made it more affordable. So they're taking these cars, making them less affordable, and I would argue less fun, and they're putting them out onto the market. So
yeah, but then again, it's the same thing that you would get in literally any kind of passion. It will always cater to the casual consumer.
Exactly.
Right? It's the same thing that I saw, and there's people in the comments that are going to flame me for this, but it's like with Fortnite, right?
Okay.
Like, because Fortnite kind of did the opposite. right? They almost for a while there catered to the professional, like people that wanted to take it more seriously,
Right.
and like do more esports stuff. And then the casuals were kind of like, well, what the hell? Like this kind of sucks. You kind of left me out to dry here. And then they created other game modes to suffice for that. But with cars, it's always, well, of course, the general
The everyday
consumer
driver.
is more important than the couple car guys. Because
Right.
you got to figure, like, let's be real here. I mean, let's say car enthusiasts, right? Like as a car guy, that's what
Yep.
we're talking about. There's probably what, one car guy to like 1,000 normal drivers. Would you say it's that
You know,
much?
I can't really put a number on it.
Yeah,
Because
it's I mean,
there's
it's
so
tough,
many,
right?
but they're kind of hard to find.
True, but it's also like it means something different for everyone too.
True.
Like for example, like
Like-
to some people, I'm a car guy,
Right.
but to you, I'm not even close. Or to some other people, they'd be like, "Well, you don't know anything about cars." Like, blah 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 blah. It's all those
The
gatekeepers.
drops of oil guys.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's interesting. I would love to drive a manual again. I'm gonna keep my search open and I'm gonna keep looking for it.
Yeah.
But even the ones that are there, man, are only like 2013s, 2012s, like, and you can just see that they're just fading.
Yeah, toward the end of the teens years and into the 2020s, there was a huge decline. I
Mhm.
mean, let's see, Ford got rid of their Focus and Fiesta models. Both had ST trim, which was, I guess, their sport trim.
Mhm.
Those both only came in manual transmission configuration. I'm surprised that Hyundai brought the Veloster N into production with a manual. They do also offer it with a dual clutch transmission,
Mhm.
but man, they are hard to find.
I mean, I think the thing that's gonna keep them alive though is those more like performance model cars.
Right.
You know, like the GTI, like the Type R,
Yep.
like all of those ones where they're still like consumer friendly, like the general, like if you just were a normal everyday driver, like, oh, it's a nice car, it's a nice Civic, Civic Type R. But if you're a car guy, you're like, oh my god,
You know what it is.
this car is legit,
Right.
So,
But that's what shocks me is like Subaru was formed around the performance vehicles.
mm,
Back in the 90s, they were a huge rally name.
mhm.
And now they're starting to phase out the WRX. The STI is no longer produced.
True.
When's the WRX going to be put on the chopping block?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of WRXs recently, and it's funny because they're all the same.
Yeah,
Like-
I don't like the new ones. The 22 models, there's so much plastic on them, the fender arches, the bumpers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't doubt that they're fun cars to drive. They probably are, but on the exterior, they just don't look as nice and clean cut as the previous generation.
Also, hot take: I don't like the wing on a WRX.
Okay.
I think they're too big for the car. Personally,
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the racing heritage.
yeah, I know, but it's
on
like
the STIs, it comes stock from the factory.
okay,
So on the STIs, I can see it fine. When people start to put them on the WRX, we know what you're doing.
well, it's like you and I both know what car what I'm referencing here. There's that blue WRX that is in the parking lot that I park in.
Yeah, that's the wing from the previous generation STI that they tacked onto the new WRX.
Yeah, and it looks-
doesn't look
It looks dumb.
on the new car. It doesn't look like it belongs.
It doesn't fit.
Like
right?
a lower profile spoiler, sure,
Yes,
but something so large as the previous generation STI wing just looks ridiculous.
yeah, because it's also like that portion of the car just isn't very long, and so then when you put such a big
you put such a
wing-
tall wing on a short trunk.
yeah, it's like
It's a cube.
it literally what
Like
it looks
the proportions don't look right.
like. Yeah, so man, but anyway, I think I'm gonna keep my eyes open for a manual. I'll keep you updated on that.
Please do.
Because I really would like one.
You got to keep these listeners up to date as well.
Exactly, yeah. Well, follow on the Instagram at Bottom Gear Pod. You can also follow me on Instagram at @the_BigMitch_1015 for updates on my car and all that stuff. And yeah, I'll keep you updated on the whole process. Now, kind of pivoting here to something else that we had planned. I asked Tom when we were trying to plan for our first podcast episode. I said, "What do you want to do?" And he's like, I want this to be more of like an introductory episode, as we've kind of already done a little bit. Told our stories, kind of understand where we're coming from, what kind of cars we like. But more importantly, I want to dive into that, what kind of cars we like. So Tom and I each created a list of our top 10 cars of all time, from 1 to 10. And I'd like to read them, Tom, from 10 to 1. Like, save number 1 for
Okay,
the
so
last.
like, I won't say worst to best, but
Yeah, but it's like, you know,
least of our
the
favorites.
10th favorite to the
Right.
to the absolute number 1. And I'll have you go first because I'm curious to hear your list. We haven't heard these lists yet, so it's kind of a little surprise for us, just so that way we can see where
Live
each other are
reaction.
coming from. Yeah, we can see what each other are interested in. So, all right, Tom, what is your number 10 here?
So number 10 on my list is the 1972 Plymouth Cuda. So these Mopar cars, they're massive, dude. I mean, the colors that you could get these cars in, I mean, green, purple, orange,
Love
anything. You got this whole palette. So what I really like about them, aside from the big muscle car vibe that you get, is the customization from the factory.
it. Sure.
These aren't cars that you'd have to take to a separate paint shop afterwards and say, hey, I want this custom color. No, you just order it straight from the factory.
Yeah.
And that's what really set the 70s apart from today.
True. Yeah, and also Plymouth too, right? Because Plymouth was such a cool. They had some cool cars back in the day, dude. It's a shame that they're not really around anymore.
Nope, they're gone.
But yeah, there's some good ones hidden in there for Plymouth. Definitely like more niche cars.
Right.
You know?
Right. You'd have to kind of know about muscle cars or really be into that to buy something like a Cuda or the Dodge aspect. Let's see, Challenger or Charger or a
True.
Super B, like all super cool cars, but you got to be interested.
Super B's a good pull. That's a good reference. I like that.
Yeah,
I love the Super B.
I love that front bumper and that front grille. It kind of looks like wings.
Yeah.
If you really look at it and squint.
Yeah. I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it. All right, what's number 9?
So that would be a car that I just referenced, the 1969 Dodge Charger. This was a classic car. It was featured in the Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
So you see this car jumping
Oh, yeah.
off of, bridges and barrels and
Just a good old boy.
drifting all around the town. I mean, that was such a badass car.
It is.
Um,
Minus the roof. But
yeah.
minus the roof. But
you know what? Performance aspect in the car itself,
yes.
paint job aside, I think it was a phenomenal car.
Oh yeah. I mean, I grew up watching Dukes of Hazzard with my dad.
Yeah.
And he was a huge fan, right? Like huge fan. I had a die cast of
That's epic.
of the car when I was a kid, and yeah, dude, like it's such a sweet car. Like when you think of like American muscle, that's top 5.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
What's number 8, dude?
All right, so number 8, I'm a sucker for a Shelby Cobra. Carroll Shelby with those little roadsters.
Yeah,
a lot of power.
The original Cobra?
Like, yeah, topless car,
Yeah.
V8 in a little package.
Yep.
You can really crush, any speed limit. I mean, what
That's
speed
true.
limits in that car? I mean, they sound rowdy. They look so classy.
Yeah.
Those round headlights, nice oval intake on the front. It's sick.
Yeah, they are sweet, dude. And they are very expensive.
Yeah.
Very.
Like
Is there's-
if you want to build a kit car, I know Backdraft Racing and Superformance both have I guess kits.
Mhm.
Superformance has the licensed by Shelby version.
Really?
Yeah, so it's the closest thing that you can get to an original without paying the millions and millions of dollars that they want for an original.
I remember I have a very vivid memory for some reason of watching a Barrett Jackson auction with my dad, and an original Shelby went across the lot,
Oh yeah.
and it went for like $2.7 million.
It's crazy.
It was ridiculous. It's a beautiful car though.
And I love them when they're painted white with the 2 blue racing stripes down the middle. It's
Yeah.
just such a nice
Just
look.
clean.
Really is.
Was it number 7 now?
Yeah, we're at 7. So this might get some hate, but you know what? This is what we're here for. The Ford Focus RS. You got an all-wheel drive package, hot hatchback. This thing's quick, and it had a drift mode. I know it doesn't have, your typical handbrake stick. It's
Yeah.
got one of those little electronic ones. But man, it's a cool car. It's quick. It sounds great from the factory. It came in some really neat colors. Like there was this, I think it was called Hyper Blue,
Sure.
which is like that, not neon, but
Yeah.
vibrant
It's like an
blue.
electric blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you see it, you just know, man, that's a Ford Focus RS. And
True.
it came with a wing on it, similar to the, I'll say similar to the Veloster N, just because we've been talking about it. But it's cool. Comes with a stock wing, and it doesn't look riced out. It doesn't look riced out. You don't have a big Country Labs like skyscraper of a wing on the back of your car. But
you know, my grandma drives a Ford Focus.
Oh, really? Yeah, I think there might be a little bit of a difference.
There's
there.
a little bit
few
of a
hundred
difference.
horsepower difference.
This is just the normal Ford Focus.
Yeah.
It's
You
a
don't
nice
have
car,
the crazy
though.
styling.
It's a nice car. How
yeah.
about number 6?
So this is a bit of a self plug. The 13 to 21 Subaru BRZ.
Shit car.
I could go. Yeah, I mean, you're telling me I drive it, so I know that it's shit.
I mean, I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, I mean, it's kind of slow, but that's what makes it fun. Like, it's more fun to drive a slow car fast than it is to drive a fast car slow. And that's what I tell people all the time.
Damn, that was really good.
Like, yeah.
That was good logic.
Especially when it's louder, you feel like you're going faster.
That's
like,
fair.
you could be going 30 and here you are screaming. Like,
Yeah.
it kind of pisses people off, but at the same time, you get those guys who really appreciate it. Like, I pulled up to a car show back home, and this is all gentlemen over the age of 50.
Sure.
With their, their Plymouths, their old Pontiac Firebirds, and they're like, they kind of looked puzzled for a second, and they're like, you know what, this is kind of sick.
Yeah.
Like, tastefully done. I don't have too much done to it except for the exhaust, but they got past it and they thought it sounded pretty good. So
yeah, it's sweet. It's sweet. It's definitely something that you have to enjoy to be able to drive it because of how loud it is.
Right, especially for 4-hour commutes sometimes.
Oh my God.
Driving across the state.
That's true.
That's a long drive, man, when it's that
fair.
loud.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That's my music. I don't put music on. I just roll the windows
All
down.
right. What's your number 5?
Number 5, I gotta say the Mazda RX-7 FD. So we're still keeping those pop-up headlights.
Yep.
Round body lines. I don't really like the RX-7 FC.
Is it a little sharper?
A little
Kinda,
bit. Less refined, I'll say.
Okay.
But just the sculpting of the body lines on the FD generation, they just smoothed everything out. They kind of recessed the door handles into part of the plastic behind the window, so it's a bit hidden, and you don't really see it.
Oh, okay. I think
so
yeah.
When you have that recessed handle, it really smooths out the sides of the car, so you don't have the handles bumped out.
Sure.
So it just looks really clean.
Was
kind
it
of like a spaceship.
Was it a 90s car? The RX-7, like the model you're thinking about, or like?
Yeah. This is like 94-ish is like
okay.
the middle. I think after 93 to I believe 98. Don't quote me on that. That generation was sweet.
Sweet, love it. Number 4.
Toyota Super RZ 1994. I mean, really any of the Super RZs from the 90s I loved, mainly because of Paul Walker. What an iconic hero car from Fast and Furious. I just fell in love with it as soon as I saw it. As ridiculous as the livery from the movie was, with the the orange with the superhero dude on the side.
Hey.
It's cool though.
Yeah.
And that 2JZ engine, you can tune the crap out of it and get so much power.
I'll tell you what, like if there's a JDM car that like just gets me going a little bit, is a Supra. Yeah. I love Supras. I always have. Like I would pick a Supra, and like I know this is probably not a comparison that you would normally make, but I would pick a Supra over like a Miata. I would pick a Supra over like over like all those like different.
I will definitely agree with you
like
there.
Similar kind of body style cars of
like in terms of like coupes.
Yeah.
From the 90s,
oh,
like
100%.
That generation.
Supras are just they're on top.
Yeah, they're top tier car from the 90s. I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Definitely rivaling the Skylines of the time, and man, I mean even the RX-7s, like those were the 3 in my mind. Those are like the big 3 from the time. Sure, you've got the Nissan Silvias, sure, but you know what? The Skylines, the Supras, and the RX-7s were on some different level.
Could you imagine living in like Japan in that era?
I want to go.
Even now?
Yeah.
Yeah, just
because I've seen the car culture and the videos from
crazy,
today,
dude.
And just the condition that these cars are kept in, they are
for being
pristine.
Almost 30 years old, some of them, if not 30 years old. Yeah, it's crazy.
And now we're kind of getting into the years where you can import just about any of these now because we're getting past that 25-year waiting period.
Yep.
So
It's getting exciting.
it's exciting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the price for all these cars is going up
It's a
astronomically.
little expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. Number 3, I have the Bentley Continental GT. I know it's a bit overrated, but in terms of luxury, just comfortable cars to drive, it's a land boat.
Yeah.
It just looks classy.
It just floats.
It does.
It's one of those cars that like you don't even feel you're on the road when you're in it.
Right.
You know?
And this isn't one of these cars that, you're feeling the stripes of paint because the suspension is so rough. Like that's like a Pagani.
True.
That's my next one, but the Bentleys are just so clean and so simple on the outside, and they're just timeless.
True.
They age so well.
That's true. I mean, there's a lot of cars that are like that they just make them timeless, and they keep kind of more of like the tech side out of it, because then it can make the car last forever almost. Like it doesn't lose its value, because it's like with like those really high tech driven cars,
Teslas.
Well, it gets outdated quickly. Like the technology gets outdated very quickly.
Right.
That's why like I really appreciate those older cars, and even cars that aren't even that old, but they have like analog clocks in them. And have, like,
even Porsches still have analog clocks.
Like
you can set them to be a track timer if you really wanted to,
yeah,
like a lap
like
timer.
Things like that, sick. Like just those little details are so sweet.
And it just shows that extra bit of effort that they put into building those cars.
True. Number 2, Pagani, you said, right?
Yeah, Pagani Zonda. I don't really have a reason that I love the car so much, aside from the fact that the interiors are like custom and built to the nines. Like they're incredible. All carbon fiber. You got these, not rare metals, but very expensive metals and stones and whatever put into the cockpit of the car.
Yeah.
It feels like you're in a spaceship. And the clusters on the dash just look like they're out of, Star Wars. It's so cool.
It's true. Yeah, we were looking at some Paganis the other night. I don't know if we were, but I was with someone. I was looking at Paganis,
and
like
their
the
V12
interior.
engines, they scream on the
crazy.
track,
That's
and you can hear them longer than you can see them. So
it's so much power.
It really is.
Yeah,
and
they're beautiful cars though.
They really are.
Yeah,
especially when you see these people who build them completely out of carbon fiber as like their custom build. It's the price on that. I don't even know if there is a price. It's priceless at that point.
That's one of those cars that you have to ask how much it is. You can't afford it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. They don't put the price on the website.
No, that's a call the dealership and ask.
Yeah. Well, what kind of giraffe skin do you want on your seat?
Come again?
Yeah. It's the crazy stuff like that makes them so out of this world and so unique.
So we got number 1 here. I think I know what it is, but
okay.
I don't want to say it to be wrong. But what's the number 1? What's your favorite car of all time, Tom?
So the Nissan Skyline R32 GTR is probably my favorite car of all time. Yes, overrated. Everybody says that. But
well, see, actually, I hear more of the R34.
Well, yeah, because the R34 was Paul Walker's car in Fast and Furious, and that's where it got a lot of the hype.
Exactly.
I think they do look really cool though. But the R32s, they're a little more. They're a bit more subtle. They don't have these sharp angles on them. They're a bit rounder.
Sure.
But you still got that RB engine. I know they have heating issues, but man, they just sound good. They put out a decent amount of power.
Yeah.
It's just a work of art in my opinion.
That's true. And they just look like if you just look at them, they just scream like 90s JDM.
Right. And I've seen so many different builds, street builds, track builds, stance builds where you got like the oil pan scraping across the floor. Like all these different builds, and they all look good. I can't find an R32 that I can say that I really hate. But all of them that I've seen have been tastefully customized. They just look really good.
Now, not even talking about the actual like price of these cars, like what they're selling for right now.
Right.
How much, if say like money wasn't an option, how much would you be willing to pay for an R32?
Okay, well, if it's for a GTR, I'd be willing to pay like $60K, even if it had a few things that it, needed fixed,
Sure.
whether it's engine or frame or just simple things.
Sure.
As long as it's not rusted out completely, I'd be willing to pay decent money for it.
I will say, you listed all these things and you threw in the frame, then you go, yeah, simple things. That's not a simple fix, depending on what it is.
Yeah, if it's like light surface rust,
Sure.
you can get that
Yeah.
out. But if it's a crater in the side of the body, like no, thank you.
Yeah, I'll pass on that one. Thanks.
Yeah, I don't need a
I might-
Swiss cheese on wheels.
I might take some parts from it, if anything.
Right,
But that's a good list,
like
Tom.
a donor car.
That's a good list. I like the mix of it. The first like 3, I was like, oh my god, this is all gonna be like muscle cars. But
See, I had to
ended up-
switch it up a little bit.
no, yeah, it was good. It was very much all over the place. Not until you hear mine, but mine is very much
Let's hear it.
just it's out there, dude. Like,
Yeah?
it's there's some cool
Like,
cars.
did
I
you
have on here.
diversify your list a bit?
I did.
All
I
right.
did.
All
There
right.
there are some cool cars on here that I think you're gonna be like, where did this guy come up with this?
Let
And
me
it's
hear it.
All right, so number 10. I put years in there because I did more in-depth research of just
Okay,
like
sure.
the specific years of cars that I liked.
Right.
So I have a 2015 Porsche 918 Spider.
Okay, yeah, dude. I love the spiders.
Those are sweet, dude.
They are, especially with the. I don't know if you've seen the pictures of the rear, but that where the exhaust exit is.
Yeah,
It's kind of like on the top of the car,
yeah.
which is sweet.
It's so sick. And also just like I really like the low profile, like super low to the ground, super like just cuts through the air kind of car.
The active
you know?
arrow as well.
Yeah.
That spoiler comes
It's-
up. It's like a knife.
It is. No,
It's cool.
it's so sweet. And I saw one that like it was like in this like matte gray with red accents on it, dude. And I just was like,
That's clean.
give me how much money you need? How much money you need?
A lot.
Yeah, a lot. But it was really sweet though.
Yeah.
I would say number 9 here. It's a 1996 Toyota Supra RZ.
Oh.
So pretty much
you already know I love that car.
pretty much the same thing that you had. Just I gave a specific model.
Yeah, different year. I said
Yeah.
94. You said 96. Basically the same. Incredible car.
I talked about it previously. I really enjoy Supras. I like how they look. I think they're just fun looking. They're fun cars. And I didn't even really know what a Supra was for a long time
Mm-hmm.
until they made a big deal that when they brought the Supras back a couple years ago.
The new gen.
Yeah. And
BMW
I was like,
Z4.
what is a Supra? Like, I feel like they're making a big deal about it. Like,
Is that a Supra?
Yeah. Is that a Supra, bro? And they made a big deal about it, so I was like, oh, this is probably like a cool car. So I went
Right.
back and looked at it, and I was like, oh, these are sick. So, yeah, definitely the Supra RZ. 1996 is what I had.
Yeah, it's
That's
pretty
number
sweet,
9.
dude.
Number 8. This is where the list starts to get pretty fun.
All right.
'Kay.
Yeah.
This is a 2019 Ford Mustang Shelby GT350R.
Oh, such a nice car, dude.
Bro.
I love the 350Rs.
They are a menacing car.
They are.
Like,
They look the part. They sound the part. They
Yeah.
drive the part.
I know. Like, if I had 115K to just drop on a 350 or a 350R,
Oh yeah.
oh, I 100%
There it is.
would. 100% would. Are you kidding me?
Paid for in cash.
Like, they just look so nice.
Give me the
dude.
car.
And it's like no matter the color scheme, no matter anything else about the car, like they're just a mean looking, like that car's gonna kill me kind of car because of
Right.
how it drives, and I love that. I don't know why. It's just
no,
like
I totally get that.
yeah, I was looking through like some cars and stuff, and I thought, man, I better throw a Shelby in there, and because I was originally thinking about like my grandfather's car. who
Yeah.
he has like the Shelby like anniversary edition from like 2008.
Pretty penny right there.
Yeah, they were pretty penny. And so I thought about that, and then I was like, oh wait, I think there's like a really really powerful one from a couple years ago, and the 350R is one that I thought of, and I was like, oh yeah, I got to put that on there.
I feel like that's going to be it's a modern classic. It's already a classic.
Yeah.
Even by today's standards because of how legendary the car was.
Oh, 100%. I mean, and also just like the name attached to it, like it has that Shelby name to
That's
it.
right.
That 350R people know. Like it's just such a sweet ride. Number 7, we have a 2018 Audi R8 V10.
Okay. Oh, I love the V10s.
So do I, dude.
Like, whether it's the Lamborghini Huracan or the Audi.
Yeah, I mean,
R8.
and the Audi R8 V10 literally it compares with a Huracan.
Right, that's the competition.
It's crazy. And I was looking it up, and I'm like, man, this thing is just beefy looking. Like
it is.
you
It
know,
really is.
oh, it's just so cool. Like because it just looks like a normal R8, but it is just a
Packs
little.
a bit more punch.
It's a little thicker to try to fill in those couple extra cylinders in there.
That's
you
right.
know.
Dummy thick.
Yeah, no, it was sweet, and they just sound just mean.
They do.
Like,
they do.
oh man,
Like that, the V10 has this high pitched scream to it. Not quite like a V12, but man, you know that it's coming at you when you hear it.
yeah, no, it definitely packs a punch. Number 6, I have a 2023, another new car. It's the Dodge Challenger Hellcat, but the red eye wide body edition.
Yeah. Okay. I've only seen a few of the wide bodies. I haven't seen a red eye.
Yeah.
But-
And you can also jailbreak these to get even more horsepower out of them,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
You got to tune the ECU.
Dude, such a powerful car.
It is. I mean, it's close to the Demon. The Demon is insane.
True.
But
True.
that's like, Boku bucks.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
crazy power.
Yeah. Well, it's like, and I think the thing that makes the Hellcat so cool is just because it's still street legal, and if you're just looking at it, it just looks like a Challenger.
Well, yeah.
But
Same with the Demon.
Yeah.
And the passenger seat comes as an extra option.
Yeah. And it's like, until you look under the hood,
It looks like your normal
and you just
Challenger.
and you just
with
see
extra
like
bits.
that little menacing Hellcat badge on the
on the side, yeah.
and you're like, oh, that person's legit.
Until they, push to start, it starts growling at you.
Literally growling.
Oh yeah,
And then of course, if you get a Challenger, you got to get it in Plum Crazy.
dude,
The
Plum Crazy is my favorite color that Dodge has been
Yeah.
putting out in recent years.
Well,
I
yeah.
mean,
It's a Dodge
had-
exclusive.
it is. But they've had these great colors. I know there was like some sort of like tangerine similar to like the General Lee color. which
Yeah.
I love the orange, but man, Plum Crazy's incredible.
Purple cars are just legit.
They're built different.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, there's something about them, especially with that metallic flake and the
Mhm.
purple. When the sun hits it just right, you get all these different hints of just slightly different shades of purple that
Mhm.
bounce out at you.
It's
and they
just-
look so good.
It's so sick. It's so sick.
And they even have Jeep Wranglers in Plum Crazy.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild, but I do like them a lot.
No, they are sweet. I saw a video today of a Jeep Wrangler, a new Jeep Wrangler, and like I think it was a V8 in it. And it was just
Really?
just wild. Such a powerful Jeep. And like it had like, I don't know if this is the right number, like 35-inch tires on it.
Oh, that's pretty crazy. That's
they,
cool.
They were massive wheels. Anyway, number 5. This is where it gets weird.
Drum roll.
A 1930 Rolls-Royce Phantom 2. Now, if you're not familiar with this era of Rolls-Royces, the Phantom is like when you think of like an old movie, like 30s, 40s car.
Like Daddy, what's his name? Warbucks.
Yeah.
Like from Annie.
Yeah. All of these like town cars, they're just super long. They have like, most of the car is like the front engine because it's just so long and lean. And then they have like the two big circular headlights
Yeah,
around
and
the
those
front.
fenders that just sweep back to
Yeah.
the middle of the car.
Like,
oh yeah.
It's a beautiful car. And
especially with white wall tires. That
it-
looks clean.
it just screams luxury. Yeah, like Tom showed me a picture of it right now. Like, if you see that car, you think, holy hell.
Royalty is coming my way.
Royalty. Like, the queen is in that car.
Right.
Like,
right.
And so if I had a
It's
choice,
just so elegant.
if I had a choice of a car that, like, no matter the price, even though it's at my number 5, that would probably be in the garage. Just because, like, the novelty.
Oh
of
yeah.
it,
That's incredible.
Number 4, we have a 1992 Cadillac Seville. Now, this one is a weird one, and if anyone here knows the Seville right off the top of their head, they're probably thinking, why the heck is a Seville in his top 10, let alone a top 5? But it's because if you've ever watched a movie, right? Yeah. Wait,
That's the Bugatti Atlantic.
the Bugatti Atlantic? What is that? I've never seen that before.
Yeah, very few were made, and this really just paved the road for what is now Bugatti.
Tom just showed me a picture of a Bugatti Atlantic, but this is a weird looking car.
It is a
Look up a
weird-looking car.
Bugatti Atlantic, and you'll see what we're talking about. But anyway, the 1992 Cadillac Seville, right? If you've ever seen a movie with like presidents in it, or like some kind of like police, or like Secret Service or something like that, that's always the car. It is literally always the car.
Yep.
They're just like that really boxy 90s Cadillac. Like, there's nothing special about them,
Not at all.
but they just look sick to me. They just look sick.
Yeah. I mean, it's a land boat,
yeah.
and it's a brick with wheels, but they are
Yeah.
just so, it screams American car.
Look up the 92 version of it. It looks even just more like a normal, like, sedan or coupe. I don't even know what it is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But, like, it's just, there's nothing special about it, but it's just so cool looking to me.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
All right, number 3. This one actually, like, I could argue to put this one higher, and it's such a weird one that, like, I don't think people appreciate enough.
Okay.
And I'm saying this from not a car guy perspective. Okay? It's a 2005 Ford Thunderbird remake.
Oh.
It's when they
the dreaded Thunderbird.
It's when they remade the Thunderbird to look like the old, like, 50s, 60s Thunderbirds.
Yep.
But
They had those little circular windows in the rear.
yeah. And this one, but I'm specifically talking about the V8 version.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, dude, they are sick. And there's a specific color too that just drives me nuts. And it's like this baby blue. I'm
It's like
hitting
that
the desk.
powder blue. I know what
Yeah,
you're talking
it's
about.
like a powder blue Thunderbird. Dude, I mean, you're looking at that right now, Tom. You can't even lie, that's a sexy car.
I don't know. There's some things I like about it, other things that I don't. But
I wish, okay, hot take here. I
sure.
wish that it was more pointed like the original Thunderbirds.
Oh yeah, so do I. My I guess design gripe with it is
It's very-
how round it is.
It's almost like bubbly.
right. And
Yeah.
they took away those sharp flares.
But I will say
from the
I
car.
almost get it because it is a remake and it is like it's like an anniversary edition, so it's like you have to make it unique. Yeah, like
And with the white roof, it kind of looks
the
sweet.
white roof with the white wall tires, you just can't go wrong with it. It is just the old like long Ford logo too, the Ford badge on the front too, just makes it so nice, dude. Like that's one of my favorite cars of all time. I saw that originally actually in a Chris Fix video
Oh yeah,
because he got it for his mom.
that's
And
right.
he fixed it up for him, and that's
Good
that's-
episode.
That was a great episode. That's where I got that
Very
the interest
wholesome.
for it. Number 2 is a 1963 Corvette Stingray.
Oh yeah, dude.
The original like Stingray models of where they got their name the Stingray because of like that really fat end like on the rear window,
Yep.
where it just bowels out a little bit. They are just I've always liked Corvettes. I really have. And whenever I think of a Corvette, I always think of the Stingrays because it's just so uniquely a Corvette, that body style.
Oh yeah.
And I was kind of torn because I know I wanted to put a Corvette at number 2,
Okay.
but I didn't know if I wanted a Stingray or if I just wanted like the original like C1 or C2, where it's like more of like, it kind of has like I'm envisioning like, yeah, kind of like how you're showing me. Yeah, they're just so different looking than any other Corvette.
They're not as sharp.
Yeah, it's more
Right.
rounded for the era too. But I had to put the Stingray in there because the Stingray just kind of started to make the Corvette what the Corvette is.
Oh yeah.
Like that same body style that they kind of rolled with for a long time.
Right, and that's why it became so iconic.
Yeah. So I think you could agree a Stingray is a good thing to have in the top 10.
Definitely.
It's a good put.
Good choice.
And then number 1, this is something that I got from my dad. This is my dad's all-time favorite car, and it just rubbed off on me. And if I had the choice to get a car, it would be this one. It's a 1972 Chevy Chevelle SS with the 454 short block engine. in it.
Yes.
Just I get almost like emotional looking at this car because I just was like, this is the car that my dad always talked about. He always wanted, and it's like
such a big car.
it's
and
a-
it's incredible. You just look at it and you see how incredible the craftsmanship is.
yeah, and it's also just a car, especially with that era of like muscle cars, that is like almost you could argue that the look of it is just the epitome of an American muscle car.
Oh yeah. I mean, whenever I think muscle car, my mind goes straight to Chevelle.
Yeah.
Like that was my favorite muscle car ever. I just didn't think to put it in my list because I wanted to
It's an honorable
kind
mention.
Yeah, honorable mention
Yeah.
for sure. I wanted to like diversify my thought process just a little bit. Um, but man, it is such a nice looking car. Definitely iconic.
Yeah, they are. I I love him so much, dude. I would love to even if I never got the opportunity to drive one, which or if I never got the opportunity to own one, which makes sense because they're hard to find, especially in good shape. And if you do buy one, you're probably gonna have to put some decent work into it. But even if I just had the opportunity to drive one, you know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Just to like live that dream out that I've always wanted and that my dad always wanted would be just so fulfilling and so cool, you know?
Taking in the smell, like, because in these old cars, you just smell the gasoline.
Yeah.
You feel them roar to life.
Yep.
And, like, you sink into that leather seat.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible.
Big-ass
You're
steering
totally
wheel.
immersed.
That's my list, Tom. Or do you, as a car guy, do you think that was a pretty solid list?
I really do.
Yeah.
I'm thoroughly impressed
Thank
with
you.
some of those choices. Very, very good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Let us know what you think in the 5-star reviews down below. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts,
That's right.
I know you can add a comment to your 5-star review. So let us know what you think about our top 10 lists here. If you're on Spotify, just give us a 5-star review if you think our lists are good, and let us know on Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff as well. But yes, I think those are two very solid lists, and it kind of gives the viewers or the listeners just a little more insight of who we are, kind of where we're coming from, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, it kind of gives them insight as to who we are and
And what we like.
exactly, yeah. Because it's kind of hard, especially without video or photos, to kind of get a sense of who are we, you
True.
know? So this is a good way to kind of put it into the minds of our listeners. Like, hey,
Exactly.
here's who we are. Here are our, automotive preferences, so on and so forth. Like, this is how you guys are getting to interact with us.
This is true.
So we also want to hear your thoughts. Like, what are your top 3 cars? Let us know.
Yeah. Let us know on Instagram, TikTok, in the comment section below, in the 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all things like that. But Tom, I think that's gonna do it for our first episode. This is so exciting. We just wrapped up. We're wrapping up our first episode of the Bottom Gear Podcast.
It's been fun.
It has been fun. I'm excited for this journey, dude.
Yeah, so am I.
It's
been a few weeks coming, but
and we haven't even scratched the surface of car talk yet.
no, not at all.
Not
this,
at all.
This has just been a long introduction.
Exactly. So, all right, y'all. We are gonna leave you off here, and we will see you next week. We're gonna try to post weekly. I'm shooting for whenever you see this. That's the day that we will be posting it. It'll be either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
That's right.
Of every single week. So whatever day you see it that was posted, that is the day we will consistently upload. And we will do it on a weekly basis for you, from us. And that's all we have for you, Tom. Is there anything else you want to bring up or add?
Yeah, well, thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to like and follow on our Instagram and TikTok at Bottom Gear Pod. And yeah, please leave your input and your top 3 car choices in the comment section.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone. Peace out.
See ya.